Testing. Ooh, sweet. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming to 1 Million Cups. I am Nico, the growing guru. And to tell you a little bit about this awesome community, if you're new, we are entrepreneurs around Colorado Springs. And personally, I really enjoy this community because everybody's just here to lend advice and give suggestions to small business owners. So I want to start off by thanking our coffee roaster, Kirsty with Sleepy Turtle. Woo!
Good morning. My name is Kirsty. I'm owner of the Sleepy Turtle Coffee Co. It is a mobile coffee shop located here in Colorado Springs, but I go up all the Front Range. I do banquets, grand openings. I also do wholesale and private labeling. I'm also starting a community-supported agriculture, and I can tell you more about that after. Thanks.
Yeah. Woo. Sweet. All right, so our coffee sponsor for the month is the Ding Guys Auto Spa. Is anybody here with the coffee sponsor for the? Sweet. So if they come back, we'll give them a shout out later. And then for the cups, we have the SBDC and the BBB, which, yeah, let's give them a hand. Woo! Sweet. Woo! I love it. The best.
Thank you, Nico. Hello, everybody. I'm Carla Wink with the Better Business Bureau, and this is my colleague Matthew Thompson, also with the Better Business Bureau. And so Matthew's going to be taking my spot here at 1 Million Cups, but I'll still be coming every once in a while to say hi. I can't just let you all go. And you guys all know what we do at the Better Business Bureau. We accredit wonderful businesses. And today our CEO will be speaking on BBB for Good, which we've been talking about somewhat through the weeks and the 30 seconds. So thank you guys very much. Carla Wink and
Matthew Thompson.
Looks great. Sweet. So just some quick reminders. We have community announcements after the first speaker. Please silence your cell phones. And check in on the 1 Million Cups app. If you have Android, it's working really great for those devices. And now I would like to introduce...
I'm going to do this announcement first.
Cool.
Remember? He forgot me.
Aw,
He forgot me.
my bad.
So, hi, I'm Samantha Sargent. I'm the lead organizer for 1 Million Cups. And every week I send out an email telling you who's the speaker. And this year is actually, so two things happened this year. 1 Million Cups as a nationwide organization had their 10-year anniversary. So we can applaud that real quick. Colorado Springs has been a part of this ecosystem actually September. So this month is our 8-year anniversary. So let's celebrate ourselves in that. Last year, someone sponsored a gift for everyone, and I wasn't that organized this year, so I apologize. Maybe on the 11th year, we'll do something cool. If you have an idea, let us know. So I was unable to send an email because everyone has to resubscribe to Colorado Springs. So good. I see some heads nodding. Did you guys get an email? Who got an email and saw it and clicked the button and resubscribed? Perfect. If you didn't do that yet, you can search your inbox for help at 1millioncups.com. So HELP at the number 1, the word million, the word cups.com. And then it's just going to tell you, hey, we got a new website today, a new 1 Million Cups experience. You guys know you're supposed to paint your house every 10 years, right? Did you know that? It just makes everything fresh. And see, he knew. Yeah, and you repaint at 9 years then, if you got the 10-year warranty. So anyways, 1 Million Cups needed to revamp. They know that we went from having, a handful of organizers across the country to having thousands of organizers. And now I think we are at, after COVID, or before COVID, we were at about 200 groups nationwide. Now we're at about 126. So we can see that flux, but that just reset everything to 0. So when I got my email, I did it immediately. And guess how many subscribers there were? Me. So there was no way for me to use the old system either. So I apologize that I wasn't able to do that. We try to do things on social media too. So if you'd like to volunteer as an organizer for 1 Million Cups and you're really good at keeping up with certain things, then we need you. So yes, please do that. If you can't remember what website or what email address you used, or you didn't get that email because maybe it went to an old email address, then just go on to 1millioncups.com and you're going to register fresh. So you can kind of reset everything. And I do often show people what my profile looks like because I filled everything out in full. I used, all 250 characters that I was allowed so people can very in-depth know who I am, what I do, and how to find me. So if you need one to kind of copy, don't be too critical, but you can use mine too. I see a few people just came in. There are some really nice seats here. We do some shared seating, so Jacob doesn't need that whole table by himself, or this guy, so feel free to come up if you guys want. And I think that does that for that. So I hope that updates you guys for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. Sweet. So I really quickly want to just give a shout out because one of the first experiences I had coming in about 8 months to Colorado Springs was with this exact organization, and it showed me that this is the town for my social enterprise to really take root at. So I have to give a huge thank you to Jonathan with National Institute for Social Impact. So, woo. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today on this nice blustery day? Maybe we'll get some rain. We will see. But it's great to be here. It's great to be in this group. I was actually one of the speakers for the very, very first one over at Ivy Wild many years ago. So it's cool to be back. There's always a good group, and it's glad to see celebrating 10 years. So this is fantastic. So I get to talk to you today about just my entrepreneurial journey, and I have 6 minutes to do it. Thank you. So here's how it starts. And it starts with a question, and this is a question in college. And we all have this question, right? What do you want to be when you grow up, right? Or something like that. So I was meeting with my guidance counselor. I was like, so what do you want to do? What are you interested in? I was like, I'm interested in all kinds of things. But okay, what do you want to focus in? What's your major going to be? And this is what I told them, in all honesty. And they kind of looked at me weird, but it was, what I want to do hasn't been invented yet. And they said, excuse me? I said, I promise I'm not being flippant. I promise I'm not being a smartass. It hasn't been invented yet. So I don't know 100% what it is, but I know there's pieces that are out there. And they said, okay, well, what are the pieces that you want to do? And so for me, it was, well, I need this psychology piece. So I am an entrepreneur with a psychology degree. That's my background. So I have a master's in psychology. And that was the closest thing to what I knew that I wanted to do at the time. And I found out many years later that it was something called social entrepreneurship. And that's this blend of having a business acumen, business background. And for me, it was having the blend of the psychology and understanding of the people and the impact that business could have on that. And so that's kind of, let's go back to, after this piece of after kind of getting into college and getting my degree. So I worked for a company here in town for about 15 years called Aspen Point. They're now called Diversus Health, which, as I was driving in today to this building, I was like, 525 Cascade, I know that address, and pulled up to this building, and downstairs in the lobby was the actual headquarters of Aspen Point for many years while I was working here. So I have not been back to this building since I left Aspen Point about 7 years ago. So when I was working at Aspen Point, I was working with severe and persistent mental health individuals, and they are very, very sick people that are suffering from depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, all these different things. And that was my degree. I was going to be a therapist. And so interestingly enough, what we started to do is part of the work that we started focusing on was getting these individuals a job. And what we found out pretty quickly was that if you get somebody a job, they get better quicker, they stay healthier longer because they have purpose. And so that's what we figured out pretty quickly there, is that we can still give them medication, still give them therapy, but if they have this higher purpose in their lives, they had something else to focus on. And if they had a job, they had therapy, they were on their meds, then they were rocking and rolling, they were doing fantastic. So really kind of figured this out pretty quickly, that if you focus on getting people a job and if you focus on giving them hope, they thrive. And so my job at the time was to go out and ask other people to give them jobs. Let me tell you, that's difficult to do. It's hard to get people jobs in general, but it's hard to get somebody that has schizophrenia or bipolar a job. So we came up with this idea of, rather than us going out and asking the community to hire all these individuals, take a risk on these people that they don't know, why don't we just start our own businesses and hire these people to work for us? So that's what we did. So that was the first social enterprise that we began. We didn't even know what it was called at the time. But we had a construction company. We had a geodesic dome where we grew our own food. And we had a restaurant where we put people to work. We did art therapy. We did GED programs. We had the second largest GED program in the state. We did career development services. We did custodial services. We had a contract with Ability One, which is a federal program which put people to work working on the different Air Force bases around here. We had about 10 different business lines, and we served about 3,500 people a year, getting them jobs. And we did a lot of research. We did a lot of data. Some of the programs that we did specifically with veterans got us to the White House twice to talk about that work, because we were improving lives, we were making an impact, we were making a difference. And so that was proof to me that there's something here. Along the way, we found out that there's this name, there's this term, there's this thing called social enterprise. And this is a new way of doing business. It's a hybrid way. It's taking the best of the nonprofit world and the mission and that focus of doing something from a higher purpose perspective, and focusing on the business acumen, the strategic piece, and you kind of combine them together and you form this new enterprise. So fast forward to today, as I was looking for another job, another opportunity, working for the Better Business Bureau, I had people within 6 months of me working at the business there asking me for help to formulate a social enterprise business. And I figured, it's probably 5 people. Sure, I'll go to coffee and help you, come up with this idea. I'm not kidding you. 500 people later, it was, okay, we got to start something new. We got to start a new organization. So it started out as the Colorado Institute for Social Impact. Now it's the National Institute for Social Impact. We're providing services, training, education, consultation all over the United States. And it's all about gearing people up to make sure that they're embedding purpose into their profit-making activities and creating more impact for the communities that they're in. So that's my story, I think. It's 6 minutes? 10 seconds, look at that. Not bad. So I haven't even had a lot of coffee yet. So, all right, thank you. So Q&A, let's go ahead and get started. Yes, sir, in the back.
Wait, hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Let me just say, I had to watch live last week, and I really appreciated being able to hear the question on the mic. So I'll come around with the mic. We do have a lot of people that watch regularly on Facebook. They live a little further out, or even used to live here and now live in another state, but they're still watching very regular online. So thank you for that, Kevin. It's really hot in here, so I'm gonna work it.
Thank you. Can you explain a little more in depth how a social enterprise differs from a traditional nonprofit?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when you look at the spectrum of these two different types of looking at business, you have a traditional nonprofit and you have a traditional for-profit. And these social impact businesses kind of make up this middle space. Again, it's a hybrid, and it takes the best of these two things. So if you are a nonprofit organization, you already have a mission. You already have a higher purpose. The difference is that it's about how you're generating revenue and how you're making money. So typically as a traditional nonprofit, you're bringing in revenue from donations, you're bringing in money from fundraising activities, and you're writing grants. All those things are good, although, for any nonprofits in there, so I'm the chair of the Colorado Nonprofit Association, so we talk about this stuff all the time. It's a lot harder now for nonprofits to find money, to get grants, to get that kind of money. And so when you're a nonprofit, you really have to, depend on for-profits in the economy to be strong to give you money. If you're a social enterprise, and as a social enterprise, you can be a for-profit or nonprofit. The rule of thumb is if you're a nonprofit, as 501c3, is that at least 60% of your revenue is earned income. So that means you're still doing some fundraising, you're still doing some donations, but the majority of your revenue, the dollars you're getting in, you made on your own through contracts and goods and services sold. And so that's what kind of defines you as a business versus as a traditional nonprofit. So you still get some fundraising dollars on there, but the majority of it is stuff that you're selling, products, goods, and services that you're selling. Great question.
People online, this is good. I don't think I heard this in your 6 minute, but I know there's a piece of a journey from when you started at the BBB, because that's where you work, right?
Right.
And then you started the initially Colorado Impact for Social
Institute for Social
Thank
Impact.
you.
Yeah.
And then it changed to that. Do you want to tell us that piece of your journey?
Yeah, so originally when we talked to just this community in Colorado Springs, because those are the 500 people that kind of started asking a lot of questions. And we figured, well, maybe this is all over the world. This isn't just here in Colorado, so everybody else has it figured out. But here in Colorado Springs, there just seems to be a need. There's a lot of things and questions people are asking. And so we figured, well, let's just start here in Colorado Springs and serve our community, because this is where I'm from, so let's serve this community. And so we did. We began doing a lot of training and education. And then we had people from Denver ask questions and people from Boulder ask questions. So then it was like, well, let's go serve those communities. And then eventually it started to be much more broad as people started to hear about the work that we were doing, and as the website just started to gain traction online just from an SEO perspective. So people started looking for it. People started, well, and the other thing too, since we're a nonprofit, we have a Google grant. And if you're familiar with that, you get $10,000 a month to buy Google search words if they're $2 or less. Well, all the social impact vernacular that's out there, so we said, okay, well, we want to buy all these 50 different key search words in Colorado, and we bought them all. And then our SEO guy said, well, you have like $6,000 left. I said, well, can I buy it in these states? You have $5,000 left. Can I buy the whole United States? Yes, and you still have $1,000 left over. So we're buying all the search words now for social impact, social enterprise, conscious capitalism, all these words. And so it's bringing a ton of people to our website, and they're finding us that way too, because people are looking for this. Businesses are looking for this.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, how's it going?
Great.
Good to see you.
Hey, good to see you too. Hey, so can you kind of expand a little bit on the relationship between this kind of container that you're talking about today and this kind of other movement that seems very connected, which is the, is it B corporations?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Now it's a whole new classification for straight line businesses that have a social give back component to it. It seems like a much larger vision with more potential impact to capitalism in general, but I'm just kind of curious to hear, you know, how you see the difference between these two kind.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So they're actually part of the same movement. So if you're a certified B corporation, then you're essentially a social impact business, because you balance purpose and profit together. And so a B Corp is somebody that looks for, you know, good social impact, but also environmental impact. To be a social impact business, you've got to do one or the other or both combined, and it's got to be baked into the DNA of your business. So let me make a really important point first. So when we hear about corporate social responsibility, we probably hear about that a lot. That's typically not a social impact business. Here's what I mean by that. If you're doing corporate social responsibility, think Walmart, they give away a lot of money to nonprofits, and they do things in communities that are good. But their core business strategy is to make money for their shareholders. And because they're smart individuals and they've done the research, they know consumers pay attention to givebacks. It's a marketing ploy. It's a marketing piece that they do. So that's the difference between like a Walmart and a CSR. Patagonia, which is a good example of a certified B corporation, it's baked into their business model. That's what they do. It's all about environmentalism. And if you like what they do, you buy from them. If you don't like what they do, you don't buy from them. They're not going to change it. And the difference is this: if Walmart hits some troubled times from a money strategy perspective, they're going to cut their CSR program right away. They're going to cut the givebacks. They're going to cut the donations immediately so they can make money. What's Patagonia going to cut? They can't. It's embedded into their framework of their business model. It's in their DNA. So that's the difference between a social impact business that does that. And B corporations are businesses that have incorporated their environmental or social good into the very fabric of their organization. Now, it's not easy to get B Corp certification. It's not cheap to get B Corp certification. There's 200 points of different things they're going to measure you on, and it's hard. And I've talked to a lot of business, and oh, by the way, you can't be a nonprofit. So you have to be for-profit only. And if you're for-profit only, you better have, I don't know, probably between $10 to $20 million in revenue to be able to afford it to be a business of that size. So that's great that it's out there, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, there's a lot of really good businesses in this town that are not that big that are doing good things. There's a lot of nonprofits in this town that are social enterprises, and they're doing good things as a business would, but they don't qualify for it, and they can't afford it. So B Corp certification is a great thing. It's just not available to everybody. And in general, they do have the same principles of all these things. It's really the stakeholder model of capitalism and the tenets of social impact, where it's about purpose and profit, doing good, making money, but you're doing these two things combined. But if you see B Corp certification, that's a legitimate certification. You know that business is doing what they say they're doing. It's a great program.
Good morning, Jonathan. My name is Kim Stewart, and I work with nonprofits on board development, and so I'm finding this really fascinating. I get asked a lot about whether I should start a nonprofit or should it be a for-profit.
Yep.
And I would just love to hear your thoughts on how you advise people when they're thinking of starting something as to whether it should be a nonprofit or should it be a social enterprise business.
No, that's a great question, and one I answer a lot. Because typically what happens right now is that we get, and these are the folks that I work with, we get a lot of, this is what they call themselves, not me. Jonathan, I'm a corporate refugee. It's like, what does that mean? It's like, I made a lot of money in Wall Street on the stock market. I made a lot of money doing things I wasn't proud of. We're not going to talk about that. But I want to give back to my community now. I'm going to go start a nonprofit. Okay, what are you going to start? And then they'll tell me what they're going to do. And like, there's 15 of those already. And oh, by the way, you were a business person. Have you ever run a nonprofit? Well, no. Do you know how these things work? No. Do you know how board governance works? Well, no. It can't be that hard, right? It's like, really? Think again. Here's just a quick funny story. So Bob McLaughlin, who runs Mount Carmel Veteran Service Center, former garrison commander, great guy, does wonderful things in our community. I asked him one day, he's on my board, and I asked him one day, I said, Bob, which was harder, being the garrison commander of Fort Carson, you're essentially responsible for $1 billion worth of equipment and resources, or running a 501c3? Which one was harder? He just looked at me, he laughed, he patted me on the shoulder, and he walked away. And I'm like, Bob, where are you going? So later on, I'm like, so be honest with me, which one's harder? He's like, I think you know. I was like, okay, I think I do know. So nonprofits is the answer, right? And so I think it comes down to this, is that a lot of people that want to do good in the world have no business running nonprofits because they've never done it before. And a lot of them don't do their research because they just see, here's this issue, here's this problem, and I'm going to go solve it, not realizing there's 15 other nonprofits over here doing good work. And if you have another organization that kind of comes in, you're going to dilute the money pool for them and potentially not run it that well. And so a lot of what I tell people is that, it really depends on a couple of things. One, do you have any business doing it? Have you ever run it? If you're a business person that's done business your entire life and you want to do good, start a business. And you can fold this into your business model. And they usually go, you can do that? Yeah, you can do that. There's 3 options now. You can work for a nonprofit, you can work for a for-profit, or you can work for the hybrid. But we've been taught that it's either or. There's the rule book for the entire world of business, and there's this other rule book just for nonprofits. And that doesn't make any sense. And so nonprofits have a lot of work that they have to do because they've inherited kind of this mess, but they're not getting the funding and they're not getting the resources necessary to do the good work. So if it's a nonprofit leader that wants to start another one, they typically have done their research. Or usually what happens is a nonprofit leader will come to the institute and say, we've been in business for 20, 30 years. We needed to diversify our revenue stream. We'd like to start a business, and let's start small. Let's be safe. We have this much capital to invest. That's a much easier conversation. But usually the people that are, hey, I'm going to do good. I'm going to start a nonprofit, and they're coming from the for-profit world. It's like, time out. Let's talk through this first. And if it does make sense, that's great. But the other thing, too, is that where are you going to get your funding from? Well, I have a bunch of friends, and I've got some investors, start a business. Well, I'm going to go write grants. Okay, that's what nonprofits would do. Where are you going to go get your grants from? Well, I don't know. I'm just going to go ask El Pomar, and they'll give me $1 million, right? No, that's not how this works. So it really is a long conversation, but I think, really what we need to make sure that we're kind of protecting the nonprofits that we have and really making sure that people aren't just going to come in and just doing whatever they want. They're trying to do good. It comes from a good place, but it's as you know, it's a whole other sector of the economy. It's a whole other business model. And most people don't do the research ahead of time to understand what's needed and what's necessary. And they can come in, and then a year later, their board's mad at them. They're not doing enough. They're not getting enough money in there. And they've got 6 other nonprofits out here doing the same thing. They're upset with them because it's like, what are you doing? You're now confusing the market. So it's a tricky conversation, but it's one that I have fairly often. Yeah, good question.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning.
All right. So you touched on a few things. You touched on people lacking purpose, right?
Yep.
And there's a narrative out there that maybe capitalism doesn't give people their purpose. So do you think we are in the midst of a meaning crisis?
Yep.
And how does this model help to plant the seeds to maybe get us out of that crisis?
I love that question. It is a crisis of purpose. We got a lot of weird issues going on right now in the world and in society. A lot of that has to do with the pandemic. There's a lot of mental health issues that are going on right now. People are tired, they're burnt out, they're frustrated. And the research that we've seen, even before COVID, showed that people were looking for more purpose and meaning in their day-to-day work. Right now, the model has been, go make a lot of money, and maybe when you're 50, 60, or when you're dead, you start a foundation, and then you give your wealth back to the community through these foundations. And I'm not saying foundations are doing anything wrong. I'm saying they're doing a lot of good work. But most of the people that I talk to are, I don't want to wait till I'm 50, 60, or dead. I want to do good work now. I want to find purpose and meaning every single day that I show up to work. So in the past, you didn't have an opportunity to do that with an employer. There was Patagonia, and that was it. And if you lived in California and you waited in line to get that job, then maybe you could do that good work every single day. Now businesses a lot of them are really focusing on a higher purpose, on doing good, on giving back. And it's about leaving a legacy. It's about doing good things for your community and your employees. And so why wouldn't you go work for a company that's going to pay you really good, take care of you, do good work in the community, provide value, and have a good reputation? Those are the things that a social impact business all kind of strive for, just because they do the things just to do with good things. Now, and they're interested in the long-term monetary making money versus just short-term. And so it's a different strategy, different philosophy. Here's one of the most important things you need to know that talks about where the marketplace is going in relation to purpose. So in the 1970s, they began to measure the market space to determine who was the number one consumer in the U.S. There were three. There was the value-driven consumer, the brand-driven consumer, and then the product-driven consumer. So since the 70s, since they started measuring this, the number one consumer has and always has been a value-driven consumer, people who buy things based on price and quality. So it's got to be a good product for the best price. That's what everybody has been doing. That's what they teach you in business schools for decades. Well, in 2020, they added a fourth one, just for fun, I guess. But there's this whole notion of these purpose-driven consumers popping up, conscious consumers, purpose-driven consumers, people looking for a higher cause, a higher purpose in their companies that they're buying from and the companies they're working for. So they added this fourth segment. And this is in 2020, and the numbers came back kind of shocking to everybody, because the number one consumer in the U.S. was still the value-driven consumer at 41% of the market. The purpose-driven consumer was at 40% of the market, and everybody went, holy smokes, this is not what we expected. So for the last couple of years, I've been running around telling people, in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 6 years, who knows, there could be a chance that for the first time ever in the history of our economy, that a purpose-driven consumer could be number one. And so they do this study every 2 years. So 2022 came around, and around February, it's like, oh yeah, I wonder if that study's out yet. It was. I went and I looked, and it's already happened. Every business owner needs to know the number one consumer, not in the United States, but in the world, at 44% of the market, is the purpose-driven consumer. People that are buying things based on alignment with their values, a higher purpose overall in terms of the good that company is doing. About 90% of consumers and CEOs and executives of Fortune 500 companies agree that a company must do more than just make money. That's a weird statement from a business perspective. I teach at UCCS in the business school. Yes, Venkat knows that I'm talking about this stuff. But at the same time, it was foreign just 10 years ago. Now it's more mainstream. But at the same time, it's been this quick shift in change, primarily because of the pandemic. There have been some good movements from social justice, social equity standpoint, and the younger demographics, this is hardwired in their brains. So if you're a millennial, 75% of millennials believe that a company should do more than just make money, they should do good. If you're a Gen Z, it's 90%. The train's left the station. This is what I tell people. It's like we're not 100% there in the marketplace yet, but it's coming. And it's coming because of this one thing. One, these two generations now, that's not just a trend or a fad. This is the future of business. To answer your question, this is purpose-driven business is the new future where people are going, because this is what people are looking for to buy from, but they're also looking to work for. So we've heard about these issues that people can't find employees. If you're a social impact business, they don't have problems finding employees. They didn't leave. Or if they did leave, they're able to hire people quickly to come back in because they believe in the mission, they believe in the higher purpose, and they believe in the cause. That's how you have retention. That's how you attract talent. So, good question.
Before I ask my question, I want to point something out that today's presentation is quite unique. So, Jonathan, you work for the BBB, but you also founded the National Institute for Social Impact. And so today's presentation is about a nonprofit, but you are the founder because no one can own a nonprofit. And then for our 1 Million Cups community, I think there was one more thought there, but I forgot, so I'll come back to it. Our 1 Million Cups community is quite diverse too, so I'd like to take you're presenting on a nonprofit, but sometimes we'll have you come in and do an educational piece. So I feel like we need to pause the time on this and just maybe take an extra sliver to do an educational piece since we have one presenter today instead of two.
Right.
So for this 1 Million Cups community, we are entrepreneurs. We are potential entrepreneurs. So this is a diverse group of not even started yet, needing that research piece, all the way through, I've been in business for however long. So this organization, National Institute for Social Impact, how can and should we get involved? What does that look like? You said other pieces are timely and expensive, and how affordable and easy is it to get through the barriers that you're offering through this nonprofit?
Yeah, no, that's great, and thanks for giving me some time to talk about that. And I think the first part, there's two parts of the question as I see it. The first part is, 501c3 up here talking to you, but again, as I've just explained, there's a new sector of the economy. It's called the force sector or the purpose-driven sector, or one of those two. But again, basically what that means is even as a nonprofit, you can be a social impact business. And so as an entrepreneur, you can also be a social entrepreneur. And so as an entrepreneur that goes out there, solves problems, and makes money, as a social entrepreneur, I go out there and solve social issues and the biggest needs of the community while using capitalism as a business model to pay for it. So it's a blend of these two different things. And so that, I think, is what's important about this, is that, business is changing, capitalism is evolving, and it's just good for business owners to know. Social enterprise, social entrepreneurship, social impact is not a fit for everyone. Although I will tell you, you need to think about how to do it, because this is going to be the standard in the future for businesses. So more businesses are having a mission. More nonprofits are thinking like a business and starting other revenue-generating arms of their organizations. So it's important to kind of know that there's this third option out there and this other way to do it. And even as a nonprofit, it's really interesting how this works. There's rules. I mean, you got to follow GAAP, but that's really it. There's not a whole bunch of laws out there that say you can or can't do this. I've actually had people come up to me on the street and say, "Wait, this is 15 years ago, but wait, you're that guy running that nonprofit that's making money." Yes. Well, that's illegal. It is? Yeah, you're going to jail. No, actually, I'm not, and you can do this. You can? Yes, so that's kind of the narrative, and we've gotten better in the United States about understanding how these things work, but it is different. And so I think the other piece around this in terms of, giving more education in terms of how this stuff works is that, it really is different because you've got people teaching this stuff in schools, and you've got people doing this stuff at the local level. And so for the National Institute, there's a couple ways you can get involved. If you want to go and get a degree in social impact, you can go to Harvard, Stanford, all the Ivy League schools offer this now, and get a 4-year degree. At UCCS, it took me a couple of years, but I convinced them to start a minor. So there's a minor in social impact businesses. I helped design the curriculum. I'm teaching the foundational course up there now. You can get a degree, a minor, a certificate through UCCS. Most people in this room already have degrees, right? Most people have already done that. And so, I'm not going to go get in debt, and I'm not going to go take the time. It's cool, but we're not going to do that. So the Institute this is why it was formed, this is why it was created. It's for working professionals who need the skill set to come and get this stuff plugged into their existing business model, or if you want to start one from scratch. So the Institute does a couple different things. At the very foundational level, and you can go to our website, it's NI for National Institute, the number 4 for fourth sector, so it's ni4si.org, or just Google National Institute for Social Impact. There's a bunch of good information on there. We've got businesses. This is the other question I get all the time. John, this is cool. Who are the businesses in my community that are doing this? And we've got a pretty good list on there, and it's growing every single day. And there's some other stuff I'm working on at a national level we'll talk about in a couple of weeks. But the thing that you can do is you can go on there and get information on who to buy from, what's going on, what is this. You can sign up for a free session on just introduction to social impact. That's the first step I recommend for everybody. Take the free course. It's online. It's on Zoom. Check it out. And it'll get you, more information and education on what this is and what it isn't. Then the second part is we're one of the first in the nation to offer a certification. So it's a 3-day intensive course. There is a price for that, but that's where you could get certified as a social impact strategist so that you're essentially able to use this. And we do business planning, marketing. We do all the things you need to build a new business or to incorporate one into your existing one. Then we also do something that's really, really cool and exciting called social return on investment. So everybody knows an ROI is, what's your return on investment? How much money did you make? Look at your P&L sheet and it tells you how much money you made. An SROI is research and study that we do. There's only a handful of people in the world that can do this right now. There'll be more in the future. But we can actually measure your impact. We can actually measure whatever you say you're doing that's good or a give back or providing value. We can actually measure that in an economic way to tell people every time you buy a service for $1, there's a $2, a $3, a $4, a $5 return on investment. So we're doing a lot of these research projects for just nonprofits because nonprofits need to tell people, hey, if you give me money, I'm going to return this much money back. It works, and it works really well. Or if you're a business, hey, I'm giving money away to charity, you want to measure that. Because if you're giving away $1 million to a nonprofit, you probably want to know if it works. And right now, people don't know if it works. And some people do. Some sophisticated nonprofits are doing great work at this. Some businesses are too. But SROI is a new way to measure that impact. And so that's at a whole other level of doing things. But that's really exciting because we can actually come in and measure the impact your organization's having and prove it.
I think there might be time for one more question. So if anyone else has a question, just raise your hand. Otherwise, after my question, we'll move to the special question. This could probably be a yes or no question. So I do know the story of Marco's Pizza, the first 3 locations in Colorado Springs. Did you work with them?
So that's a great question. So the owner, Craig Chiefman, is a friend, and he started doing this because he just felt it was the right thing to do. And again, this is a good example of a business person that was like, I'm going to go start another business and then just give all the profits away instead of going and starting the nonprofit. Because I don't know how to do this. I've never done a nonprofit, but I know how to run business. So he brought it's a new thing it's called a social franchise. So you go and buy a franchise business, but you essentially decide what you want to do with the money because it's your business. But again, as long as you're meeting the needs of the franchise, you can do whatever you want. So he went to the franchise owner, said, I'm going to do this social thing. He didn't know any of the language at the time, and they were like, well, that's weird, but that's your money, so do what you want. So he did. I would say probably year 1, heard about what he's doing, heard about the impact, and then we met, then we talked. And so I really kind of helped him. Here's the buckets of social impact. You're in this section right here. Here's some of the guidelines you should kind of go with. Here's how you market it. Here's how you message it. So he was already doing a lot of really good things right. But we just kind of helped him really kind of pull it all together. And then also he began to teach it to other people that he knew, understanding that, this is a strategy, this is a business model, this is a thing I can talk about and teach. So he's had me come in several times too, because his stuff is more of a ministry kind of mission. And so I've done a lot of speaking for him and his groups, just talking about from the standpoint of using business to do good and doing business in the kind of line that he's in. But it's a cool model. There's not a lot of social franchising around yet. It's still fairly new, but I think that's another way that entrepreneurs are going to find out a way to be social entrepreneurs is I'm going to go buy something I know is going to work, and I'm going to attach some type of social impact component to it. So it's a brilliant way to do business.
Yeah, I think he was way ahead of his time. So this might be right before he started working with you, because I know that when he first came to Colorado Springs, he wanted to open a nonprofit, and someone helped him do the research, and they said, we don't need another one here.
Yep.
What we need is more money.
Yep.
And so that's where he pivoted to that. So maybe we could get him to come in sometime, and
Absolutely.
give us his story as well.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Okay, Flip has a question. I stretched that out a little bit, so.
Well, you brought up Patagonia, and didn't they just announce this past week that all of their money is going to the environment, except for what it costs to run the things?
Yeah, this is big news. This has never been done before, and so the kind of right. So Yvon Chouinard, the founder, who's now there are 3 CEOs past him, privately owned organization, right? Read an article I think last year in Forbes magazine that Yvon Chouinard, the owner of Patagonia, is a billionaire. And most people would be like, yeah, right on. That's right. I worked hard for that. It pissed him off. And when you read the articles, he's like, I was so effing mad. This just ticked me off to no end, and it made me think, and it made me realize, well, why am I mad? And he's mad because he will tell you he's a reluctant businessman. And he's reluctant because he wants to do good, he wants to create value, he wants to create impact for the environment, and he's using a clothing store to do it. That's the difference between an entrepreneur and a social entrepreneur. Social entrepreneur, I have a higher purpose and a thing I'm trying to accomplish. I'm using capitalism to get there. Versus an entrepreneur, which is I'm trying to make money, and I'm using my business to get there to build wealth so I can do what I need to do, et cetera. So he realized that, well, if I'm a billionaire, then I have not done a good job because I'm trying to make this money to give it away to be a good steward to the earth. And so he's the first one to kind of do it. He basically set up, his shareholder is the planet Earth. I mean, that's basically what he did. And so he's trying to give all this money away, and as Patagonia keeps generating revenue and profits. And he's like, I'm not rich. I'm driving around in a beat up old, Subaru, and I live very, he likes to call himself, it's a rock climbing term. I'm a rock climber, but he calls himself a dirt bag. That's what some of them will call themselves. He's like, I'm a dirt bag entrepreneur because I like living this easy lifestyle because it's not about making the money. It's about creating the impact. But I failed if I've now on paper been this billionaire. That means I got to do something with this money. So he's basically set up a new kind of corporate structure where there's his family is as part of like a trust and foundation. There's a nonprofit that helps to manage these funds, but it all goes to different nonprofit organizations that are helping to steward the earth and help make sure that we're focusing on sustainability. He does things like this, and you can go back and look at his history of just these different ideas, different ways of doing business, and then most of them go mainstream. And he's, at the time, this is one of those things, watch and see what happens, if anything, but nobody's done this before, and so some people are going to say that he's absolutely crazy. Other people are going to go, this is awesome, and most people in the middle are going to go, well, that's interesting. I never thought about that before. How can I think different about business and using profits to create more impact?
All right. Well, Jonathan, thank you very much. And I'm honored I get to ask you the very special question.
All right.
So how can we, as a Colorado Springs community, help the National Institute for Social Impact?
There's a couple of things. Number one, I would say, and this is the easiest one, talk about social impact. Ask questions about it. Educate people on it. Now you know a little bit more about this new growing sector of the economy. And I think it's important that we just tell more people about it so they understand what it is and they understand there's another way to do business. If you want to do nonprofit work, there's a lot of things that needs to be done in that area. If you just want to make money in a traditional business, that's fine too. But there's this new sector that combines purpose and profit together, and you can do both. So I think we need to talk about that. We need to normalize it. We need to use the language of that. So I think that's number one. Just talk about it. Just have conversations with people. Ask good questions or educate yourself more. And then that's that second piece when it kind of comes into the education portion of it. Sign up for the free introductory class at the National Institute for Social Impact. We're a national organization, a resource that's literally in your backyard. I would be happy to go to coffee with any of you. And usually we charge a lot of money outside of Colorado to do that. And so part of our social impact is we want to do cool things in Colorado Springs. So anything we learn outside, we bring back here. And we do a lot of stuff here for free. So I'm just telling you, take advantage of that. Because one, I love it, love this town, and would like to help anybody here. Thank you.
Thank you. You got your cup. Great job. Appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, it's awesome to see as a social entrepreneur.
Yep. Say that in the microphone.
Nice.
Keeping everybody on task today.
Nice. So speaking of the microphone, want to thank our media sponsor. That was not a good pun, guys. Segways. Yeah, come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin. My business is Fedde Studios. I do, video production. I do photography. I do live stream, and I do drone stuff. I just bought a new drone, so I'm really excited to use it. So, let's talk about that. I have 11 weddings in September.
That's awesome. Nice. So I want to welcome our first timers. Do you guys all want to raise your hand and we can applaud for you? Any first timers? as well as organizers and alumni. Are we going to just have them stand up? Raise your hands. So feel free to hop on our social medias as well. Tag us on Facebook. We're on YouTube too. I'm uploading some videos, so check that out if you ever miss something and want to research some really cool presenters. They're pretty much all on YouTube thanks to Kevin from this point on. And now I would like to welcome community announcements. So if anybody has any community announcements, can you please come up? Oh, nice. Okay, easy enough. So community announcements are things that are going on around the Colorado Springs area that are free. So we want you to bring in activities that everybody can attend. Or that impact the entrepreneur community. Thank you, Samantha. Sweet. Do you want to start?
Hello, everyone. I am Lynette Kincaid. I'm the owner of I Write Writing Academy. Just wanted to let everyone know that the Pikes Peak Library is hosting an Instagram, and it's October 1st. It's an Instagram business class. It's October 1st, October 8th, and October 15th. Those are Saturdays at 21C Library, and it's at 10:30 to 12. And I'll actually be teaching how the backside of Instagram and the analytics of Instagram. So come on out, and if you need more information on how to join, because it is free, but you do have to register.
September is Life Insurance Awareness Month, so this is the PSA for the week. Everybody knows that we should be insuring our greatest asset. How many people know that they should also be insuring their retirement? That is more, life insurance is more than just when you die. It is life. Use it for living.
Hello. So every Tuesday here at the Next Us, the Bountiful Table is having their community-supported agriculture market from 3:30 to 6:30. So we will have various organic local farmers from all over Colorado Springs coming out, fresh mushrooms, fresh coffee, local, all fair trade, and organic. We have bread. We had bunnies last night. Like, we have a bunch of random stuff. So every Tuesday from 3:30 to 6:30, our goal is to just feed the community with really good local organic food.
So that it's on the microphone, Nico was telling us that there's examples in the back of the room.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm here to announce that our Night of Excellence is coming up on October 21st. What Night of Excellence is we have our accredited businesses with the Better Business Bureau. Some who are very brave, they go for the Customer Service Award. It is a very grueling process that they go through to win this award. And so the Night of Excellence is that award ceremony. And this year we're doing a haunted gala. Now, the gala has actually already sold out, but we've been able to expand and bring more people in. So if you guys do want to come to Night of Excellence, it's October 21st. You can go to nightofexcellence.com and sign up for that and get registered right away. And what else? Was there something else you guys wanted me to say? I think that was it. Okay, thank you.
Hey, October 13th here at Next Us, we're going to do a magic tasting, and the idea is come on down, have some fun together, see a little magic. I've been here for a year, and I don't know how much magic anybody's got to see me do. So come on down. It'll be on the 13th, 6 o'clock, next room, and if you want some more information, just stop by.
That sounds fun. I'd like to taste magic. All right, so today is Wednesday, right? Is it the third Wednesday of the month? It actually is. So tonight is Nerd Night. So if anybody wants to go have a good time at Kawadi tonight at 6 p.m., we've got Rosemary Jaramillo is going to talk about the Alzheimer's Association, where Alzheimer's came from, what we can do to prevent it or reduce our probabilities. We have somebody from the Pikes Peak Library District, Ben, who was here. So he's going to expand even more on all the amazing things that they do in the library. And then we're going to have Karthik Krishna, who is somebody that's going to talk about environmentalism versus sustainability and this discussion that's going on between these two things. And he's going to have a very fun special guest. So come to Nerd Night tonight. And then the following Monday, Memoirs, True Stories Unfiltered, very impactful Memoirs is. And this month's theme is the unexpected, and we've got a good lineup. So that's Monday, Kinship Landing, 6:30. Thank you.
And speaking of Rosemary, she is on the live right now, and she says that the Walk to End Alzheimer's is October 1st. So register at alz.org.
See, she knows what it's about. She can do a community announcement on Facebook. Well done. I wanted to do a shout out for Macaroni Kid. This is a free platform where you can check out what's happening for kids. So we only got one kid in the building today. I think maybe they're in the hallway. Most of us don't bring our children here because people don't watch their mouths here, and then that's allowed too. But this is an amazing resource. I own a business called Connecting Communities. They put all of my events on there, and it's also on my website. So it's just an amazing resource. And then there is a fundraiser this weekend at Brush Crazy. So on Sunday from 2 to 6, whatever you purchase during that time, 50% is given from Brush Crazy to the nonprofit fiscal sponsor of the Pikes Peak Region Time Banks. I think that's all I have today.
Hi everyone, I'm Janelle and I'm the owner of Automata Consulting. I host BIPOC, so a networking event for Black, Indigenous people of color here in Colorado Springs. It's the last Tuesday of every month at the Well here in downtown. So I welcome everyone. It's 9:30 to 11. I have cards and happy to share more information about that. Following with the trend of the Pikes Peak District Library, I'm their new entrepreneurs in residence. And so I'm here to also provide some of the different resources that are available to all entrepreneurs at the library. I'll be doing some workshops, hosting one-on-one office hours, so I look forward to meeting you all, and feel free to grab one of these. I'll leave it in the back for you all. Thank you.
All right, so we want to finish off by thanking our space sponsor, Judy Paring, and also some space etiquette, if you just wouldn't mind cleaning up your space before you leave. And a final quote I want to end with, which goes with social impact, which is, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So I want to say thank you to all of you for that. Woo. Sweet. See you guys next week.